the thing about the search is it's about the person. Each of us has it in our own way. And so the healthy religions and healthy spirituality turn it back to the person so that they could see that this is about them, not me. If the leader has elicited something in you, cool, but that's all they've done. It keeps away from this dangerous side of the search that can make all spirituality and all religion just seem like nonsense.
When life throws a challenge at you, one thing is certain. To find a resolution for every issue, every problem, for everybody, there's more than one way.
So the other day I was watching, I was actually flipping through channels trying to watch something.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, hey, let's try HBO Max. Good old HBO Max comes through often for me, for things to watch. And so I was clicking through it and came across yet another docu-series on some kind of religious group that attracted a wide variety, well, not a wide variety of people. It attracted a group of people, lots of people. This one ended up attracting enough people to be worldwide.
Wow.
And all centered around a guru who then passed on, when he died, passed on his mantle, I guess you could say, to somebody else. And that person took it and expanded the whatever you want to call it. I hesitate to call it a ministry. They expanded the thing,
the group, the movement, or whatever it was,
even further. And it, reminded me of the one church in Brentwood, and then that had a very similar kind of explosion of people who came to it, and a lot of good things are happening up front, and then all of a sudden everything goes...
It kind of starts to fall apart.
Yeah, everything falls apart, and
people get
tragedies
hurt.
happen. People get hurt and die, and it happens over and over and over again, and has throughout history.
Those movements like that, or the attraction, or
all that, you know. And so I was just had that on my mind as to what's going on with that. Why does that happen, and why does it happen so frequently? It seems to me. It's probably happening right now. We just don't know about it because the docuseries comes after the fact.
Right.
And it just took me into the whole spiritual world, because when those kind of things happen, it gives the word spirituality and the spiritual groups and all that a real black eye. It makes it seem like this is just phony and fake and not real. And it happens over and over and over again, and part of the reason that I think it happens over and over again is because, for me, there's this innate drive within humans, an innate instinct, an innate hunger for something greater than our own self. I don't know the exact way that this guy Augustine said it back in the 5th century, but he said essentially something to the effect of, our hearts are essentially restless and lonely until they rest in God.
So that restlessness, that's the hunger, or the whatever.
And the hunger leads to a search.
Okay.
And the search can take you in lots of places, like these groups have shown us. And in a way, that's kind of what religion's all about. Religion is there and comes out of that hunger, that search, that deep search for that greater life, that greater presence, that greater power, that God, whatever, however you want to name it. And the religions organize around somebody's experience, and then take that experience, and then it just gets passed on and gets passed on. And the healthy ones, can survive for centuries, right? And go on and on and on, and help people who are on that search. But what can often happen with some religions, and has happened throughout the centuries, is that the practices that are a part of the religion get rote and stale.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you think I mean.
I think, when you have something, it can become so routine that it doesn't have a lot of meaning to it. It's just something you do, and you forget why you started doing it sometimes, or you forget what the meaning behind it was. It just becomes part of, this is what we do.
Right. So this is what we do, and then it loses that essential piece, which is to connect you to that something greater.
Mm-hmm.
All the practices of all the great religions are there not to do just because of the thing you're doing,
right?
But because they connect you to something beyond it. And when it gets stale, then usually what happens throughout the history of religions is there's some kind of reformation, or like in the United States, there were a couple things called the Great Awakening,
mm-hmm.
but just ways to try to help the practices find life, in a sense,
mm-hmm.
and help the people within it, or come up with new ones,
new ways,
new ways, different things. And all that has happened throughout the years, and it's been healthy,
mm-hmm.
Because, and a lot of it is because the focus has been on just that, helping people to connect to something greater than themselves. What happens in these groups, and what can happen in other situations, is that search for the something greater gets put on a person.
What do you mean?
So like in the one group, it's called, the documentary is called Breath of Fire.
Okay.
In that group, it's kind of a sort of a yoga-ish group that has
mm-hmm.
some yoga stuff going on, and what they're calling Kundalini energy, Kundalini yoga.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really not that. It's kind of a watered down version of that.
Okay.
And the person who becomes the leader is a young woman called Guru Jurit, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
All the energy that is used in that search for something greater, something bigger,
mm-hmm.
the something more, a deeper presence of a power in life, gets put on that person, got put on her.
Oh, okay.
So she's the one that then becomes the one to tell people what to do and how to do it and when they should do it, and that's
so she almost becomes the source.
Yeah,
versus
she holds the God projection.
Okay.
So everybody and that happens over and over again with leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they have a kind of a charismatic something that connects with you.
Yeah.
Then rather than trying to engage that experience and what that experience is about, we just think about the person. And isn't that person great?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that person? And then at its worst, it goes so far that you're no longer making decisions for yourself. You're letting that person make decisions for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're no longer saying, this is what I think, this is what I believe. This is what Guru so-and-so says, and you're almost out of the picture.
Yeah.
Right. And the tragedy of it is that search, that hunger, that desire is legitimate and real.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens in all these groups is, for a while, they find that it's almost like, here it is. This is what I've been looking for.
I found it.
I found it right here.
Yeah.
But like I said, eventually it moves away from, this is what I'm experiencing, to, wow, isn't that person great and beyond human?
Hmm.
And I'll just listen to what that person says, rather than pay attention to what's going on inside of you. right? Because the search is innate to humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I think this is what Augustine was trying to get at. It's part of who we are to try to find that.
It's part of being human.
It's part of being human beings, and part of what, and it can get put on lots of things,
mm-hmm.
even things outside of what you might consider to be religion.
Okay.
So like football.
Football. Okay.
Right. So football can hold all the things that I was just talking about. Okay, so if we go back to that breath of fire place, one
mm-hmm.
of the things that was very attractive to the people is they would go and they would be in these groups, and they would have like dance sessions.
Okay.
That went on and on and on for hours.
Gotcha.
Okay, that created all sorts of energy in the people, and so people were. I mean, it was just energetic, energizing,
mm-hmm.
and it really captured people in a really beautiful way. Well, so can football, right? So if you go to a football game, and here's the thing about that same group, is everybody was dressed the same, and everybody was doing the same thing at the same time.
Okay.
So if you go to a football game, just like the last one against Kentucky, they had a blackout.
Right.
Why did they have a blackout?
Just to build energy and excitement.
Right. So everybody wears the same thing.
Same thing. Yeah.
We're all in the same place. We're all doing the same thing. Right?
Yeah.
So what does that do?
There's a sense of belonging in that.
Right. So it creates that sense of belonging, same as the other thing. And that's a good thing.
Being a part of something bigger.
Something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So there's a bit of touching into that human instinct of wanting to be a part of something more than
mm-hmm.
just me.
Yeah.
Right? And then the cheering starts, and the people come on the field, and the band plays, and there's one college there, the music that they play for the team running in is Enter the Sandman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know that?
Yeah, it's Virginia Tech.
Yeah, okay. So
it's madness.
What?
It's madness. It's
yes.
just it is crazy. You can almost
Have
feel
you been
it.
there for that?
I haven't seen it in person, but you can almost feel the energy through the television of them all bouncing in unison. I mean, that's
exactly
wild.
it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as the people doing the dance thing for hours and hours and hours.
Okay.
We're all doing this, and that energy is a sacred energy in a sense. It's the God energy. It's amazing
mm-hmm.
when you're a part of it.
Yeah.
And it does something to your consciousness. It shifts you. It changes you, right?
Yeah.
And it's great. Well, it's doing all the things once again that these groups do to help connect people to the group. Right. So, but here's the thing. I'm not saying bad, good.
Yeah.
Right. It's a good thing.
Okay.
It's a good thing as long as people can keep it with, hey, wow, we're in a game. This is fun. Where it would get out of hand is, okay, we're all doing this, and this guy isn't doing that. Get him. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, or we're all doing this, and here's the other team, rather than welcoming the other team to just come and be a part of, they're the enemy now.
Right.
That's when and
then
most
the
people
energy
don't do
shifts
that.
Against, yeah.
Yeah, most people don't do that, but it can happen.
Yeah.
And when it happens, it's the same as the extremes of these groups, these religious groups. People get hurt. You know, somebody once said that if Josh Heupel asked people to strip naked and run down Cumberland Avenue, you'd get a good portion of people who would do that, right? Thankfully, he's not asking people to do that, but that's the same thing as I've put everything on the guru, and I'm letting the guru tell me what to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So that energy can and does go in lots of places and can be used. To me, once again, I'm not saying bad, good. I'm saying watch where it goes.
Okay.
Watch what you give almost like your ultimate value, and who's holding that for you. And part of the antidote to not falling into what some of these religious groups, or all of these religious groups, end up doing to people, and that is stripping them of their personality, separating them from the people that they have loved up to that point,
right,
and making all the decisions for them. And the antidote to that, the thing that's going to help with that, is to, not lose your sense of self that far, not give yourself over to that much. Always have room for, one person said, doubt. Always say somehow or another, I'm allowed to question this, whatever it is.
And if you start to feel like you're in a place where you can't, that would raise...
And then leave.
Yeah. That you need, yeah.
Get away.
Because the energy is in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Because when I'm, to circle back around to the beginning, the thing about these groups is they kind of suck you in, and it's very positive from the beginning, and it's a great place to put that energy, or to have that energy even experience it within that group. But as time goes on, you have to just watch. Okay,
it's easy to get swept up.
Yes, am I losing myself in the negative sense of that in this group?
Yeah, and be past that point and maybe not even have realized that it happened.
Yeah. So if they say things like I've heard some groups say, well, let's say I have a question about some religious practice, some religious belief, and I bring that question up.
Okay.
And the person says, well, we don't ask questions like that.
Yeah.
Well, then that's to me, that's like, well, then forget it.
Yeah.
Because part of the deal with this energy, with this insatiable search, is you have to be able to question, you have to be able to doubt, you have to be able to say, hey, that football team really held that energy for me for a long time, but I'm older now and they don't as much anymore. I find that same energy, that same excitement, that same what I had there
somewhere else,
in some other form, in some other way to be. I mean, I'll give you an example of that. There's a guy, a young man, who was a graduate student, and he had this experience, and he tells it like this, and this is coming from a book. He says, as I ran across the grass, I could feel that each blade of grass had a life force, that the ground has a life force, that everything was bound together in this wonderful and horrible dance. I could feel my feet crushing the blades of grass. I could hear the crunch. I could feel the pain the grass felt. From this experience of expanded consciousness, which came totally unbidden and unexpected in that moment, I realized that I was something more than this pocket of flesh and mind wandering and searching. This is what I had been searching for. I knew that there was really a power and a presence that was all-inclusive, and that it included me as well.
Wow.
All right? So all that energy, all that stuff that the people experience in that group, through the practices of the group. There's one group in Brentwood, Tennessee, and their whole thing, or at least a big part of their thing, was about weight loss. This was a big part of the church, was if you follow this thing, you'll lose weight, and then you'll be happier.
Interesting. Okay.
And all right, so all the energy went toward that and toward the leader of that.
Okay.
And supporting that. And weight loss was the experience like this guy's talking about. Right? Until it wasn't.
Yeah. And you could see where that might be something to link into just with the idea of transformation and people's desire to be healthy. I mean, there's some great things around that.
There is.
It's just if it's geared toward the wrong way, it could become...
it just gets, once again, it just gets more and more extreme and more focused on the leader. And the leader telling the people what they can and cannot do. So that's where it starts to get really, really... That's where it's gone way too far. That's where it's, but an experience like this is what he's saying is all that stuff that they're talking about that they experience in a group that then might get projected onto the leader of the group.
Mm-hmm.
He experienced on his own.
Yes. Okay.
Just out in nature, just running across grass.
Right.
Okay. And then it's him in this instance recognizing that experience and saying, oh yeah, this is what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
This is what helps me experience my connection to something greater than me and all that is around me, and that I'm a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there it is. Now, what would be negative is if then he expected everybody to have that.
That same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. To the point that became the right way.
That's right. Or the only way.
The only way. Yeah.
So this is the only way that you can experience that presence. This is the only way that you can experience that greater life.
So that potentially could be another sign or another, maybe a warning if it started being presented, whatever you were connected to as the only way to do that, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, I what this has really got me, and I feel like I'm having a hard time articulating this to some degree because it's very close to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is I think this is really what all of religion is trying to be about. And that is help people connect to something greater than themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That oftentimes you find within yourself. Right?
Yeah.
So that's something more. That's something that is often called God. And I think oftentimes what happens is we stop trusting ourselves in that search and start listening to what other people or other things are saying.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really, really important to me is for people to trust themselves. Like this guy is in this, mm-hmm. in the running on the grass, is to trust that experience, is to trust that and say, yeah, I know what it's like to connect with this greater thing and live from that place rather than the oughts and shoulds of what maybe even any religion is telling you ought and should do.
Mm-hmm.
Or this is the only way you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
The only way that you can have the experience of God is if you read it in the Bible.
So that'd be an example.
That would be an example.
Yeah.
To me. Or you take it in the Eucharist. Now, I'm not saying those things don't have that.
Right.
Well, what I'm saying is I think each of us has our own authentic spirituality that might be unique to you, to each one of us. And part of the deal is discovering that and living from that and trusting that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking. I mean, that's just an interesting thought. I think it has a lot of implications.
Like what?
I think a lot of. I could see where someone could feel like, well, that doesn't sound like community. But I think what you're saying is the community is that we all have that hunger and search.
Yeah.
Maybe the community is that we're all on the search together versus our destination having to be the same place.
Yeah, and it might bring us together.
Yeah.
And we might find community. I mean, we might do something here at St. John's, we're going to have a Compline service coming up. That might be a place where each individual has their own experience, but community happens through getting together and talking about that experience with each other.
Okay.
And talking about how different, well, I had this
The
and you had
experience
that,
was for
and
each
that's
person.
okay.
Yeah.
That this was like this for me, and that was like that for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was an okay thing. Not the assumption that because I'm having this experience, everybody's having this experience.
Right.
So to me, the community comes in the sharing.
Okay. Yeah, that's helpful.
The community comes in the sharing of what the experience is that I had in this group.
So there's some vulnerability there.
Yeah, there's always going to be.
Yeah.
Right. So I did a dream group. Let's see, it was a couple of weeks ago, and people were very vulnerable and very open and talked about their dreams. And anytime people do that, you're sharing a bit of your soul from my perspective, and just the qualitative felt feeling of the room shifted from when we walked in prior to sharing the dreams,
mm-hmm.
right, to after. There was a qualitative difference in the before and after. And there was a qualitative difference in the relationships that we had, even though all the dreams were different.
Yeah.
So just because our individual experiences are different doesn't mean we're not going to have community.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, what I'm saying is you could have
it might lead to deeper community. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people are bringing themselves.
That's right. Just because I'm in the proximity to you does not mean I'm in community with you.
True.
Right? So
mm-hmm.
just because I show up and sit in the same room
Share
and
space.
even sing the same hymns doesn't mean I'm in community with you. For me, community is sharing the experience like this guy had running across the grass.
Mm-hmm.
And then say, hey, have you ever had something like that? Did something ever like that happen to you? And yes, it will always mean I have to be a bit open and vulnerable if I want community from
mm-hmm.
my perspective.
Yeah.
Now, I guess that depends on how you see community. Because on one level, like we're saying at a football game, you could feel like that's community
mm-hmm.
for a moment.
Yeah.
But for me, to go deeper, it would be, hey, let's talk about this. Let's share this. It's having the experience, processing the experience, sharing the experience, reflecting on the experience, and then doing it all over again. And that forms community to me.
Mm-hmm. Which sounds very different than some of the groups you were talking about. They're not following that path.
Because
they're more just listening or taking in. One thing's being given or one perspective, and then everybody's agreeing to that perspective.
Right.
Or you can't stay, or something else.
And all the energy and everything eventually, and all these groups, and when they blow up, all the energy has gone to the leader, like I said before.
Mm-hmm.
It's all gone that way. I mean, I experienced that some just preaching.
How so?
Okay, so when you preach, I put it out there. Very few people go, hey, wow, this is how that hit me. Most people go, that was a good sermon, or that wasn't a good sermon. Right? It's
I liked that.
It's objective. It's as if they're giving an objective view.
Okay.
That was objectively good. No. It must have touched you in some way.
In some way. Okay.
And if you really wanted to be in a community with me and that person, they would tell me how that touched them.
What it was about it that moved them or connected them. Yeah.
What connected with them. And see, the thing about it was good, oftentimes is what happens is, once again, that's keeping it on me.
Yeah, I see that.
And I could take that and go, God, aren't I good? I'm good. There it was.
Yeah.
There's proof that I'm good. And then I could really, really start getting caught up in that world.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for me to do. It'd be very easy for me to just go down that road of, man, that feels good to be considered good.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing about the search is it's about the person. The thing about the hunger and the thirst is each of us has it in our own way.
Mm-hmm.
And so the healthy religions and healthy spirituality turn it back to the person so that they could see that this is about them, not me.
You know, tell me more about you.
Yes, this is not about the leader. If the leader has elicited something in you, cool. But that's all they've done. And that's how, for me anyway, it keeps away from this dangerous side of the search, this dangerous side that can make all spirituality and all religion just seem like nonsense. Because it just leads to destruction and disaster, and they just want your money, and on and on and on and on, right?
And there are how many different examples, like we've talked about. I mean, just look through your streaming service alone. There are multiple documentaries or books or movies or, you know,
I mean, one of the earlier ones in my life was Jim Jones and that whole world thing that happened down in Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
That whole group started off helping street kids, helping kids with education, having a food bank for people to come and get food. They did a lot of good things in their community. And then somehow or another, all that energy just got put on Jim Jones. More and more. And then eventually he's taken them all the way down to another country. And somebody just brought up the term, he drank the Kool-Aid, not realizing that's where that came from, that he gave them all this, whatever poison was in the Kool-Aid, because they were, people came down to try to rescue them, and all these people died.
Yeah.
And it's all in that whole, once again, it's that whole, for me, what is for me, and you'd have to decide this for you, innate human desire to connect with this presence, power, greater energy that guy was talking about running across the grass. It's all about that. And it gets put in, like I said, it can get put in so many different places. And when it gets put on a particular guru or leader, what history says is just what you said. It usually doesn't go well.
Yeah.
And I think it doesn't go well. It's because it's yours. That's what I'm trying to say. You're your authority. You're the one. You're the one having the experience of living life the way you're living life. And that's a good thing. Trust it. Like the guy, once again, I'm going to come back to the guy running across the grass. Like the guy running across the grass. He's trusting that experience. You do the same thing. Me too. So for me, it's not that the search is bad, not that spirituality is false, not that religion is just after whatever. It's all that stuff is just so easily manipulated and twisted. And it's especially easy to manipulate and twist when we're always putting it on outside of ourselves. And not trusting our own experience. Please trust your own experience. Please.
And I think, you know, you think about this, sometimes the stories of those groups come with the idea of targeting vulnerable people.
Yeah.
You know, and you think about people that are searching and maybe people that are in a space of brokenness. I know one of those documentaries, the women were all in a similar kind of life transition, breakup, job change, move kind of situation where there was some untethering there that this helped kind of ground them or help give them that. And I think sometimes in those positions, you can be hard to trust your own voice.
Yes.
Just when you're in a place where you're having a hard time just seeing the light.
It can be. There's no doubt about it. It can be. And so those, hopefully, you know, my hope, thought, and prayer, whatever, is that you find a place where people are kind and compassionate and see you in that vulnerable place and can help you. But even then, what I'm saying is, don't lose yourself. You're just too important to lose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The way I see human beings is we are each a unique manifestation of the whole. We are a microcosm of the macrocosm.
Okay.
And one of the most beautiful questions I think we can ask one another is, what's it like to be you? What's it like to live life the way you're living life, the way you're experiencing life? Because it's different.
Yeah.
And that's good.
And those differences show us more of the whole.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how much can we see? How much difference can we take?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And that's why it's just so close to my heart, because I think it's so important. So when people are in vulnerable places, oh my God, my hope is that they find, once again, compassionate places, and not places that tell you they're going to fix your life.
A quick answer, or this is what you need.
Yeah, this is what you need, or I've got just the thing for you, or 5 easy steps, or not that we can't help one another, not that sometimes those things can't be helpful. It's just, don't give yourself away. And go back to that one thing. You should always be able to doubt. You should always be able to question. You should always be able to say, this just doesn't feel right, and
be able to
trust that.
To trust that feeling. Yeah.
Even if 100 times before you messed up. I think.
Yeah.
And this is a hard thing to talk about. This has felt to me like it's a hard thing to get into.
Yeah.
Because so much oftentimes has been taught that we're supposed to, in a sense, not trust ourselves. Because some religions, it's all about we're sinners.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, if you're told you're bad from the start,
right,
with the idea that,
right,
that can make it more challenging to be able to trust yourself.
Yeah. And I say, let's not start from there.
Yeah.
That we can do destructive, hurtful things, sure. But that we're just bad from the start, no. I don't think that. Thank you for listening to this episode of the More Than One Way podcast, brought to you by the Center for Spiritual Practice in Knoxville, Tennessee. We really appreciate your time and would love to hear your feedback. You can reach us by emailing hello@morethanonewaypod.com, or you can connect with us on social media using the handle @morethanonewaypod. If you found this episode helpful, we hope that you'll share it with your friends, with your family, with people you work with all the people who you know. Thank you, and take care.